This is Dear Strategy, episode 114. Welcome to another episode of Dear Strategy, where we answer all of your questions about product and business strategy. Real questions from real people in real companies, just like yours. Welcome back, strategy creators, to another great episode. This is episode 114. I'm proud to be bringing you another strategy question, one of our more traditional type formatted episodes, and we're going to get to that in just a bit. Before I do, I feel like there's something that I should address. There's probably many things that I should address, but this one is on my mind right now. And it's, there's so many things happening in the world, so many hot button issues. It feels like everybody has opinions on everything. And it almost feels like if you don't kind of talk about your opinion, that you're in some cases coming off as, tone deaf, right? And I wanted to address that because, as I think I've talked about before on this show, I usually record these episodes in batches, maybe 2, 3, sometimes even 4 episodes at a time. What I talk about is not terribly timely, so it could usually get away with that. So maybe an episode that, is airing today might have been recorded a couple of weeks, even up to a couple of months ago. And so as a result, sometimes I'm not addressing whatever is going on in the world at the moment, right? And that may come off as again, appearing to be insensitive or, disconnected or whatever that might be. And I think I just wanted to put out the disclaimer and say, look, that's just not really what this show is about, right? The show's not about current events. It's not about political hot button issues. It's not about any of that stuff. It's about helping companies try and develop better strategies. And that's what I really try and focus on. That said, this episode is being recorded and being released pretty close to when I'm recording it. So I did want to say that there is one thing that I do think is worth mentioning, and I'll probably address this on a future episode. I'm not sure exactly how or when, but I will do that. And it has to do with the fact that many companies in today's day and age appear to be taking stronger and stronger and more vocal positions on things every day. And I think that can be said of just about everyone, right? Everyone seems to have stronger voices, louder voices. Social media used to be about keeping in touch with people and connecting with people and seeing pictures of their kids and vacations. And my God, that's just not what it's about anymore, right? Everybody feels like they have to have a platform. They have to say something. They have to whatever. And companies are no different. And I see more and more companies doing that. Strategically, though, I think that there's some danger in that, right? There's a lot of reasons that there's danger in that. Not the least of which is I'm not sure that companies are always prepared to deal with whatever fallout comes from them taking positions. I've seen some companies take positions that they believe in or that they think people will agree with. And in fact, people say, no, you've taken this too far, or no, we don't agree with your position on that. And then it kind of backfires on them, right? And I think they honestly thought they were taking a position that most people would be in favor of. But in fact, that didn't happen that way. Sometimes companies take positions that isolate a large number of their customers or a large number of their employees. And other times companies take positions, and this is the one that I think bothers me the most, they take positions that they're really not willing to back up with their own actions. And boy, I could say that of a lot of people, right? That they're willing to shout out about certain things, but they're not actually doing anything to support their words. They're not behaving in a way that supports their words. Sure, their words sound good, but the behaviors don't back it up. And when companies do that, people will call you out on it, right? If they feel like you're just trying to pander to them, but you're not really behaving in line with what you say you believe, boy, will they call you out. And then you have nobody on your side, right? The point is that I think that companies strategically aren't always thinking these things through. I think their CEOs and leaders are sometimes making very emotional decisions without thinking through all of the impacts. So I think it's very appropriate to talk about that on this show at some point. Again, I'm not sure when or where or how, because I don't necessarily want to take a strong position politically one way or another, but I definitely think this is worth talking about. So look for that in a future episode. I'll find the right time and place to address that. But in the meantime, just realize that, outside of that, it's really not what we do here, is take positions on those types of things. So we're just going to stick to what we know, which is helping companies develop better strategies. And we're going to do that today by addressing a strategy question. And that question is, Dear Strategy, how do you balance the creation of a long-term strategic plan with the resources needed to execute it? So kind of part of the reason I gave you that introduction that I just did is because my answer to this question is a little bit in line with that, right? And again, it has to do with companies saying one thing and doing another, or more appropriately, not doing what they say they'll do. And that, of course, can apply to any number of different situations. But the one that I think it applies to here with respect to this question is when companies say that they want to have a big execution, they want to grow, they want to do whatever, right? They want to have a great strategy to help them do that. They want to execute on that strategy. They want all these great things to happen, but they're not willing to back up those words with money and resources, which is always what it takes to implement some type of a strategy. And I'm sure I've talked about this on previous shows. It's more timely now than ever, right? But I can't tell you how many times I've seen companies do this where they say that they want to do something. They say that they want a certain goal to be achieved. They say they want their product managers and marketing managers and business leaders to come up with strategies to achieve those goals. Those teams do that. They say that they need a certain amount of resources or a certain amount of money. And the answer inevitably comes back as, oh no, you're not going to get that. You're not going to get extra people. You're not going to get extra money. Just make it happen. And that's tough. That's tough, right? And that, again, I think it's an example of a company not really backing up what they're saying with real actions. If a company really wants to double their growth, they need to invest. There's no other way around it. That's just what has to happen. So there's two sides to the answer here. One is on the side of the strategist, right? And on the side of the strategist, when you're putting together a long-term strategic plan or any strategic plan, you need to have that magical section that says, this is what we're going to need to do this. So as you all know, strategy, my process is fairly straightforward. It starts with a vision, then you have an analysis of the situation, then you have some plan, and then you have some way to execute it. And in that section of executing it, that's where you take the plan, which lays out all the things you want to do, and you say, this is how we're going to execute it. And the biggest part of that is, this is the money and resources we're going to need to do that. You lay that out very clearly. Now, that might sound obvious, but I see this happen a lot where people who are putting together strategies, they either skip that section or they kind of short themselves on that section because they automatically think that they're not going to get the money, that there is no extra headcount available, there are no extra resources, that they're automatically going to get the answer of just make it happen. I'm not going to give you anything extra to do it. And that usually is a result of years and years and years of conditioning. But at the end of the day, they assume that they're not going to get anything. Therefore, they don't ask for it or they don't lay out exactly what they need. And so that's a mistake, right? That's a mistake. I always tell strategists, product managers, whoever's putting a strategy together, it's never going to hurt to ask. And it's not even just like trying to humble yourself to ask. It's about, if you put a plan together that you believe in, that plan needs to have resources and money to execute it. You need to match those things up. Don't fudge it, right? Don't overstate it, but just say, if we want this to happen, this is what we need. Be very clear, do your homework and make sure you present that part of your plan. Some people will call that an investment roadmap, a little different than a product roadmap. The investment roadmap is really the roadmap of investment that you're going to need to make a strategy happen. So if you're on the strategy development side, you need to make sure you put that in. On the management side, you need to make sure that you allow people the flexibility to ask for things, right? You don't just put unreasonable goals on them. You actually encourage them to tell me what you need from me. Tell me what you need from the company. Tell me what you need from our investors, our shareholders, our stakeholders. Tell me what you need, because we know that you're going to need something. We want to know what that is, right? Encourage that. You could always negotiate it. You could always talk to it. You could always say, look, we don't have this. So how is that going to affect your plan? But that's the kind of conversation you need to have. This kind of holier than thou, super ego driven approach of I make the rules, you follow them. It never goes down well, right? And I see this so many times from managers, like their job is to blow holes in the plan and listen to people and then say, you need to just make it happen. And that's just the worst thing you could do. So don't do that, right? So assuming all of that works together, now you talk about this question of balancing the creation of the long-term strategic plan with the resources needed to execute it. The whole key to that, once you're in a culture that accepts executing a strategy is going to require resources and money, now you can have reasonable conversations. And now you can really start to match the performance you're expecting to get with the true resources you need to get that performance. And there should really be no mystery there because most of the people that are putting these strategies together, they already have a business, right? There's very fantastic documentation on how many resources are needed to do certain tasks, to do certain things, to make certain things happen. You know what those resources need to get paid. You know what kinds of investments you need to make on both capital expenditures and operating expenses. All those things are there. Those histories are there for you to draw upon. So all you have to do is draw upon those and project them over your plan. And now you're matching up. These are the resources to get this performance. And the best thing to do is make sure that there's some correlation. If I get X amount less resources, this is going to be the effect on the results, right? So run those cases a little bit. Have a, low case, medium case, high case, whatever you want to call it. But if I get this many resources, this is the result. If I get this many resources, this is the result. If I get this many resources, this is the result. And again, when I talk about resources, I'm talking about all of the things needed: systems, headcount, marketing spend, whatever it is, whatever money you need, equipment, and you could name as many as you want. But any place on the P&L that's going to appear, you need to make sure that there's some correlation or call out to how that affects the results that you're expecting to get. If you do that and you have that balance, then your strategy is much, much, much more likely to pay out and to get the results that you're looking for. So that's the answer that I would have for this. I hope that answers the question. I hope it helps with whatever strategy you're trying to put together. And again, I bring it back to the original message for companies. Make sure you're living what you're saying, right? Don't just say, I want to grow. You got to back it up with real action, real investment, real money, real resources. That's the only way it's going to happen. Otherwise, it's just empty words and empty promises, and nobody likes that. So if you have a question you want to be featured on the show, go out to dearstrategy.net. Go ahead and click on that contact link, and that will take you to a form where you could ask a question to be featured on the show. You could share a story that you want us to analyze and talk about, and we can feature that on the show as well. Or you could just give us feedback. We love to have that also. And you could also go out to strategygeneration.com. That is the website of Strategy Generation Company. That's the company that I own, I founded, and of course I work for. And we offer strategy training, tools, workshops, all kinds of great things for you to learn more about this wonderful world of strategy generation. So we hope you'll go out and visit us at strategygeneration.com. And if you're interested in working with us, go ahead and click on the contact link there. That'll take you to a form and you can get in touch with me. And yes, it is me. I will answer that directly. So go ahead and do that if you're interested in learning more. While you're doing all that, don't forget to make time for the plan, and we'll see you back here on another episode of Dear Strategy. Thanks for joining.
Thank you for listening to Dear Strategy with Bob Caparelli. To learn more or to submit a question to be featured on our show, please visit us at dearstrategy.net.